Hey everyone, we are live, and I'm going to mute my mic so that you don't hear my dog growl and bark.
What's up, guys? Shawn Bowen, Full Circle Investment Group, and wholesalingoutofthebox.com. We're back at it again with another lunchtime live today. And as the title says, we are speaking about KPIs. So one of the most major things, and this is a stat that's real, and you can pull this up, but most businesses are not tracking their numbers in their first 1, 2, in the beginning of business. And the problem with that is that they're not going to know where they're going, much less if they're going anywhere at all, right? So majority of the time what happens is you look at your bank account and it says like, I've got this much money in there, right? And that's either a good thing or a bad thing. So the bigger the money, the better you feel. The lesser the money, then you start asking what are the problems and where's the revenue? So here's the problem with that, is that it doesn't allow you to measure anything because it's only an indicator of a lagging indicator. It's not showing where you're going, right? So the word KPI, or the acronym KPI, stands for Key Performance Indicator. And guys, if anybody's ever been around me or learned from us as a company or heard me talk for many years as I've been doing this, this is one of my big pieces to talk about. So if you know your numbers, you will know how to grow those numbers. If you track those numbers, you will know your performance in order to know what your income is going to be. Okay. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. If you would please leave us a comment here and let us know where you came in from. In the title, just click on that. That way we can see where you're coming in from and where you're getting this feed from. I think we're in YouTube land, Facebook land. We're all over the place on this broadcast. So again, the idea today is key performance indicators. Okay. So one major piece that let's talk about the 5 pieces. Okay. So marketing, calls in, calls out, appointments booked, appointments gone on, and then transactions. So making money, right? It's like closings going down. So if you're tracking these numbers, and this doesn't matter if you're the very beginning level of this or if you're experienced, done a few deals and you're trying to grow, okay? Everybody talks about scaling, but they're not talking about why, how, or when they do it. So that's what I wanted to take some time to talk about today was how do we do this? So for example, for the people that are just starting, let's talk about that. If you're just getting going, doesn't matter what your marketing avenue is. I don't care if it's mail. I don't care if it's text messaging, ringless voicemails, cold calling. I don't care what it is. That needs to be tracked on a daily. And then on a weekly, you should have a call with either you have team members or you go in and pull the numbers and know what they are because you're tracking them on an Excel sheet. And let's just say you had, I'm going to go with mail because we know that. And let's just say you sent out 1,000 mail pieces and you got 20 phone calls. Okay. Out of those 20 phone calls, what turned into either a warm lead or an appointment based off of the conversation that said you were close enough after putting all the comps together and the views to make that seller an offer to actually go on that appointment. Okay. Now you have a set number. One, you got 1,000 mail pieces out, you got 20 phone calls, and at some point in that number, you got 2, I can go on this appointment, right? Now it's a matter of fact of closing. So let's say you go to the titles, and then the title issue turned into a problem of which, let's just say you had 2 deals that you got put together, and one falls off completely because the title that you can't control, right? Has nothing to do with selling the deal, has to do with title, okay? So then title can't close and you can't close that deal. You're at a 50% closure ratio. Okay. So knowing these numbers is a really big deal. So now let's say you go to next week. Okay. And now you send out 1,500 mailers, or let's just double it. Let's just say you send out 2,000, right? Based on your last response, you should see that you should get bare minimum 20 calls, right? Now from there, you're tracking the same number, which is how many appointments did you go on? And then again, how many contracts did you get? and then did anything close, and then there's a new KPI. So what this does is allow you to measure your weekly progress, right? And now look at this on multiple different levels of your different campaigns, right? Where is your lead source coming from? Is it from a mailer? Is it from Facebook Market? Is it from text messaging, RBM? Like, what is it? That should be tracked individually as well. So your list, where it's coming from in its marketing, ultimately to know where your best response rate is coming in on all your campaigns. Why would you want to keep going on a campaign that's not giving you a good response, right? Hit it 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 times, right? To know what your response, continuous response is, right? Maybe you get a high rate on one hit and then it might teeter off. So it's so important to track these numbers because I see a lot of different wholesalers come in the industry, or even for that matter, have been in the industry. And I get this a lot, right? And this was pre-COVID. Shawn, I've been in for 6 months to a year and I haven't done a deal yet. Awesome. Can you tell me what you're doing for marketing? Well, I made a few phone calls. I did some Facebook Marketplace stuff. I've put a few bandit signs out. Okay. Do you have any of the numbers tracking any of that? No, I don't. Well, that's step one, right? Because you don't know anything that's happened over whatever time frame you have. Let's just say it's 90 days. In this case, we're using 6 months. Let's just say the guy said 6 months. You have no numbers to know what any of your responses came from. Do you have any tracking to know how many appointments you went on? Do you have any follow-up on any sellers so that you know where you're going as you go down, like progress, right? To go forward, you have to track an existing number in order to be able to grow anything. So it's so important when you tell you, when I have guys come to me, hey, Shawn, like I've been doing this for 6 months and I haven't done a deal yet. Well, how many marketing pieces have you sent out? How many calls have you taken? I don't know, a lot. Right, but that's not a definable number. A lot is not a defining number. So if you start tracking this, you'll see where your progression is or where it's not. And then that should allow you to turn off certain pieces of campaign or marketing pieces that you're not getting a response rate from. And now you got to go somewhere else. Guys, the bloodline of wholesaling, and for that matter, any business, is marketing. If the first thing you turn off in a bad business is marketing, how are you going to do any deals? The goal is to focus and track your marketing so that you can ultimately get the KPI or a key performance indicator that tells you what's going on. And guys, when I tell you we track everything, we track all of it. We know exactly how many days it takes from the time we make contact till we get a contract, from the time that we contract up to when we sell the deal, from selling the deal to closing, and from closing to getting money. Right? I mean, even to the point where we're trying to figure out where the 14 or 16 days are extra that it takes to close a deal, right? To shrink the closing timeline. Okay. So that's a lot of tracking. But if you do the work on the front end to set it up correctly, you'll have it done and you won't have to keep, like, it's just pulling numbers, right? And then looking and understanding what those numbers are and what they mean specifically. So there's multiple different numbers we track in order to get a specific KPI. But let's talk about it for us, right? We're 3,700 mail pieces. We're roughly 350 calls. We're 4 appointments for 1 contract to gross $16,000, right? And I think we net 12. So guys, these numbers, we only know them because we talk about them every single week, okay? So this is why I say it's so important for anybody, whether you're brand new, whether you've been in the industry, it doesn't matter. But watch where you're going to go when you start tracking these numbers and you really start seeing data. Because one of the big things you'll always hear me talk about as well is I care about the data, not about the drama, right? I don't care about all the nuisance that comes with it or all the specifics in every little deal. Those are fun to talk about and they're entertaining. But when it comes down to the bottom line, what's the number? And how do we get to it? That's all that matters. So guys, again, the main things we were talking about here today was KPIs, and that acronym, key performance indicator, is a very, very big part of business. And it doesn't matter what business you're in. If you can track it, you can grow it. And that's very, very important to understand. So even if it's your basic Excel and you're just seeing a few phone calls a week, what if you're going out and driving for dollars? What if you go out and you say, okay, I got 20 homes today, and out of those 20 homes, guys, these are any of these apps, right? Driving for dollars. Man, there's two or three more. I know everybody's talking about, like Deal Machine, Land Glide. There's some other ones that are out there, but like use one. Okay, go out, track the information. Let's say you get 20 homes. Out of those 20 homes, you might get, I don't know, let's say you get 15 numbers to call. Call all 15 numbers and see what happens, right? Out of all 15, what was the number of people that said they were interested? What were the ones that said they weren't? Do you have them in a follow-up process? Where are you putting the information, the data to hold on to that makes you follow up with that seller, right? Guys, touching somebody, the 5th, 6th, 7th touch is where you're going to win hands down. Majority of your competition is gone. 80% of your competition is gone by the 5th or 6th touch, right? So this follow-up is huge. Then you say, okay, now I had 20 people, I got this many contacts, and I got this in touch with this many people, right? Remember, ahead of time, you did the legwork to know that you're not going into just a random neighborhood. You're pulling the comps to know what things are selling for, to know it's a moving market, so that you know that you have somebody there that will buy your deal. So all of this goes back to key performance indicators, all of it, no matter what. It's very important to track these numbers. So now as you go week for week for week, you should be growing your number week for week for week. Now you have, let's say 20 sellers, 15 said, out of 15 you contacted, let's say half, 7 of them ish, 7 said that they were interested, right? Well, let's just say that the other 7 said they weren't. You now created 7 follow-ups. Unless they're really like, I'm not interested, then you take them off completely. But nonetheless, guys, you're building follow-up, right? And this should be a set number every single week. If you don't have the time, if you don't have the money or the resources to go out and do marketing, if you don't have the ability to spend for text messaging blast, fine. Take the time to go and drive to build this roadmap of possible motivated sellers, calling, tracking how many calls, tracking how many they're interested, going on appointments, and learning. But I promise you, tracking your numbers will help you massively. So guys, again, today's conversation, thank you so much for hanging out. We've been talking about KPIs and knowing what it's like to track your numbers and why it's so important. Again, thank you for taking the time to hang out with us today. I appreciate it. Anybody that watches the replay later, please leave us a comment. Let us know if there's anything that you do specific, or maybe experienced guys in here seeing I'll do it this way or I do it that way. The group is here, guys, to help. So just because we do it one way doesn't mean it doesn't work another. Okay. So anybody here that has more experience or has a better way of tracking, please share with the group and let us know. I love all feedback, and I love to learn new things as well. So thank you for taking the time to watch. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Again, if you're ever interested in learning anything or need anything for these sheets, for these CRM systems, visit us at wholesalingoutofthebox.com. We're always here to help. Reach out to me on Facebook. And thanks again, guys, for taking the time to hang out with us. And we'll see you on the next one. Later.